Welcome back to the Docker and Kubernetes How-To series, Episode 2. Today we're tackling Docker Compose, the tool that lets you spin up an entire multi-container application with a single command. The idea is simple but powerful. One YAML file describes your app, your database, your cache, and anything else you need. Then Docker Compose Up brings the whole stack to life, fully wired together. So let's start with the problem. Real applications almost never run as a single container. You've got a web app, a database, maybe a Redis cache sitting alongside. Doing that by hand means stringing together a bunch of long Docker run commands, wiring up networks, and remembering exactly which service has to come up first. Do it once? Fine. Do it every single time you reboot your laptop? Ugh. Compose flips that around. You describe each service once in a compose.yaml file, and then Docker Compose Up brings the whole stack online. Same order, same network, same result on any machine. Before we touch any YAML, there are really just 3 words you need in your head. A service is one container's definition. Your app, your database, your cache, each one is a service. A network is how those services find each other. Compose creates one automatically, and services talk to each other by name. No IP juggling required. And a volume is persistent storage that outlives the container, so your database doesn't reset itself every time you restart. That's it. A Compose file is just a list of services, plus the networks and volumes they share. So let's picture the stack we're about to build. It's a classic 3-service setup. A web app running on port 8080, a Postgres database, and a Redis cache for speed. Compose will drop all 3 onto one private network automatically. And here's the nice part. Web can just call DB and cache by name. No IP addresses, no host file gymnastics, no manual networking. Now let's actually describe that stack in code. Open up compose.yaml, and under the services key, we list our 3 players. Web is built from the local Docker file and maps host port 8080 to container port 3000, and we tell it to wait for DB and cache to start first. Postgres and Redis just pull ready-made images, no building needed. And notice that DB data volume at the bottom. That's what keeps your database alive between restarts. Let's slow down and name the 4 keys you'll reach for most often. Build or image is the either-or. Build your own from a Docker file or pull something ready-made off a registry. Ports punches a hole from the container out to your machine, so you can actually hit the app in a browser. Depends on sets the start order. Database and cache come up before the web service. And volumes are how your data survives when a container gets recreated. With the file in place, here's the payoff. One command, Docker Compose Up, with D to send it to the background. Compose reads your YAML and does everything in the right order. It creates the network, provisions the volume for your database data, and then starts the DB, the cache, and finally the web service on top. Network, volume, 3 containers, all wired together in one go. Now here's the part that feels like magic the first time you see it. Inside that Compose network, your service names are the host names. So in your app code, when you connect to Postgres, the host is just DB. The name from your YAML. Redis. Host is cache. No IP addresses, no config juggling. Compose runs a tiny DNS server behind the scenes, so even when containers restart and IPs change, DB always resolves to the right place. All right, with the concepts in place, let's talk about the commands you'll actually be typing every day. There really are only a handful. Docker Compose Up, D starts everything in the background, and Docker Compose Down tears it all down. Compose PS shows what's running. Compose Logs F-Web tails the logs for a single service. And Compose Build rebuilds your images after code changes. And one big warning, down, vowel, also deletes your volumes, which means your database data is gone. Use that one carefully. Now, speaking of databases, please don't hard code your Postgres password directly into the YAML. Instead, reference it as a variable like $sign curly brace DB password and put the real value in a .env file sitting next to your Compose file. Then add that .env to jitignore. Your YAML becomes safe to commit. Your secrets stay on your machine, and future, you won't have to rotate credentials because they leaked into a public repo. While we're on the subject of databases, there's another classic gotcha. By default, depends on only waits for a container to start, not for the service inside to actually be ready to accept connections. So your web app boots, immediately tries to talk to Postgres, and gets a connection refused. The fix is a health check. We run PGIs ready every 5 seconds, and then tell web to depend on DB with conditions service healthy. Now, web only comes up once the database is genuinely answering. And that health checkpoint is actually the first entry on our short list of common mistakes. The other 3 are worth burning into memory. Never hardcode secrets in the YAML. Put them in a .env file and reference them as var. Always name your volumes. Otherwise, your database disappears the moment you run Docker Compose down. And speaking of down, be very careful with the V flag. It deletes your volumes, and yes, your data goes with them. Now, a question I get a lot at this point. If Compose is this nice, why does everyone keep talking about Kubernetes? Honestly, they solve different problems. Compose is your laptop and small servers. One YAML, one machine, instant up and down. Kubernetes is for production at scale. Many nodes, self-healing, auto-scaling, rolling updates, more power, but also a lot more moving parts to learn. Okay, but back to Compose. Let's pull everything we've covered into one file. Here's the finished Compose. YAML, a web service built from the local Docker file, mapping port 8080 to 3000, waiting on the database to be healthy before it starts. The DB is Postgres 16 with its password pulled from an environment variable, a named volume for persistence, and a PG is ready health check. Then a tiny Redis cache, and the DB data volume declared at the bottom. That's a full multi-container app in about 10 lines. So let's zoom out and recap the whole journey. One compose.yaml describes every service in your app, and a single Docker, Compose brings them online together, already wired into the same network, which is why they can talk to each other just by name. Volumes keep your data alive between restarts. env keeps your secrets out of Git, and Healthchecks makes sure nothing starts talking to a database that isn't actually ready yet. That's the whole mental model. And if you only remember one metaphor from this episode, make it this one. Compose is the cast list and the stage directions for your app. Each service is an actor. The YAML file says who's on stage and how they're wired together. And Docker Compose Up is the moment you raise the curtain on all of them at once. The old way is a pile of Docker run commands you retype every time. The new way is one file, one command, the whole stack. So let's zoom out for a second and see where this whole series is headed. Episode 1 got you Dockerizing a single app. This episode levels you up to a multi-container stack with Compose, and from here, we go beyond your laptop. Episode 3 pushes your image to a registry so you can actually share and deploy it, and Episode 4 takes that same setup onto Kubernetes. And here's the nice part. Services, networks, and volumes in Compose map almost one-to-one onto Kubernetes concepts. So what you're learning today is a real on-ramp, not a detour. If you want to keep going after this, there are 2 natural next steps. On the reading side, the Infra Explained series digs into the fundamentals, what Docker really is, how Kubernetes pods and containers fit together, security basics, and how CI/CD ties into infrastructure as code. And when you're ready to make the jump from a Compose stack to a hardened production cluster, the Kubernetes hardening course over at Dargslan.com courses is built for exactly that transition. Before we wrap up, I've got a quick question for you. What's actually in your Compose stack right now? Is it just an app and Postgres, or have you layered in Redis, a background queue, maybe an Nginx proxy out front? Drop your services in the comments, and while you're there, tell me whether Healthchecks have ever bitten you, because I know they've bitten me. And that's the whole idea. One file, one command, your whole stack up and running. Next time in the series, we'll take that image you just built and push it to a registry, which is the bridge between Compose on your laptop and Kubernetes in production. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it, And if you want to go deeper, the full Kubernetes course is waiting for you over at dargslan.com. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.